Don't change your sets, folks. Yes, rugby league twice in 1 week on New Zealand Sports Radio. Don't change your sets. Normal service will resume next week. Don't worry, folks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for the second time this week, as Paul said, for episode 25, season 2 of The Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Good evening, Richie. Good to see you again. Another good weekend of footy. A couple of blowouts with a handful of tight tussles and another Warriors win. What do you think of the round?
Hey, Brad. Second time I'm on with you this week, so yeah, it doesn't get any better than that. The round was pretty enjoyable. Some, like you say, some closer results than what we've been used to this year. Hi, Mark. Mark's liking your Bush shirt already.
Yeah, I had enough shame from all of you on Monday night that I decided to pull it out of the cupboard.
Brett, you're a brave man. I actually like the shirt as well. I'll put it out there. And we had a Warriors win. So
yeah.
How good.
Yeah, and while we're live here on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to be covering everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week. We'll review the round 22 matches and our picks. Then we'll stop and answer some questions from all of you guys, as well as some we've got for ourselves, before previewing round 23 and making our picks. And then time pending, hopefully we can finally get into some Super League after a couple of weeks of going a bit long. Remember to send comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well just jump straight into the top stories, Richie.
Let's go, mate.
First one, I thought we'd talk about your dad for a sec. So Peter Sterling is retiring from being an on-air pundit with Nine. He's been with Nine for 27 years, obviously had a great footy career before that as well. But any thoughts on your dad giving it up now?
Yeah, look, being a close relative of mine, I'm maybe a bit biased, but I've always enjoyed Sterlo's work, no matter what show he's popped up on. And he's he like you say, he's a great player, and he's always come across like one of the guys with a lot of knowledge. So, do you know what I didn't actually catch what he's going on to do, but
I think he's just retiring and just calling it a day, period. I know he decided on his own terms. It wasn't a situation of being pushed out. I know I've heard that Nine weren't that happy that he was deciding to go, but he's apparently quite for the idea of bringing in younger talent and giving the younger talent a bit more time to shine, which, full credit to him for that.
Look, when you're a hardcore Parramatta man and they haven't done anything since 86 and it's already made him lose his hair, I don't blame him for wanting to hang it up.
Good luck for whatever he wishes to do. I'm sure he'll give us a couple of insightful comments on the sport before he hangs up the microphone. Next bit of news is not as great. Andrew Fafita was in an induced coma after fracturing his larynx in his game against the Knights in the weekend. Pretty horrible stuff. And he's actually had a successful surgery and expected to make a full recovery, which is great news. They were trying to pinpoint the moments it happened. There was a few moments where you saw Knights players running with the ball and him getting forearms to the throat. It could have been one of those times. They've deemed there was no foul play involved, just a nature of the beast thing. He's probably going to end up with a Darren Lockyer voice now. They all do, but horrible to see. No thug quotes from me for this one. It's quite a serious matter. Good to see that he's on the mend. What do you think of it? It looked like scary stuff on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He wasn't looking the best, was he? And it just shows how brutal this game can be, especially up in the front line there. Thoughts out to Big Andrew. Nice to hear his surgery went well, and hopefully he'll be on the road to recovery for a nice quick recovery.
Yeah, and we've got James Maloney on the news next. He's announced his retirement at the end of the year. Has had quite a great career. Played with the Storm, the Warriors, the Roosters, the Sharks, the Panthers, and the Catalan Dragons, winning premierships with the Sharks and the Roosters. Catalans are number one in the Super League right now, so he's probably highly likely to end his career winning the Super League over there with them too. So obviously got a soft spot for him for his time with the Warriors, and I think coming to the Warriors is what kind of jump-started everything for him, because he was a Mr. Nobody when they announced his signing. I had no idea who the hell he was when he joined the Warriors, and he really got himself in the spotlight with his time here, which led to people actually appreciating how good a player he was. And you saw that with the success he had wherever he went after. Unfortunately, he didn't get that grand final win with the Warriors when he was here, but at least he got a couple to his belt after he left us. What are your thoughts on the funny character calling it a day?
Oh, he's a magnificent player, mate. I was a huge fan while he was at the Warriors and retained that soft spot for him even when he left. Just a ultimate competitor, he very competitive bloke and won pretty much wherever he went. Like you said, apart from getting the grand final win here with us, but nice to see you conveniently left out his State of Origin win as well.
Yeah, I don't recall that. Don't recall him. Did he win some Origin? Did he?
It's probably hard to remember because it was surrounded by 8 years of not winning for my team. But
yeah,
here we are.
But yeah, he can't have everything go his way. So the fact he had to play New South Wales is probably a low light for him. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, I'm not sure what his plans are after football. I know he's going to head back to Australia, but I don't know if he's going to segue his career into a coaching role, or if he's going to end up on being one of the players that retires and starts commentating and that. I think he's got a personality on him, so I think he could do all right there. But yeah, I guess he's probably going to take some time out first before he makes the next plan. So good luck to him on that. And next bit of news, we had Connor Watson. There's nothing official yet, but there's rumors he's rejected a contract offer from the Knights and has told his teammates that he's going back to the Roosters on a 2-year deal. Big news there. I know he's been quite good for the Knights.
Yeah. But
I guess with a few positions opening up at the Roosters with the retirements and that, maybe he's looking at potentially moving into becoming a full-time hooker with the Roosters. Complete speculation on my part. Or he could end up just being a utility like he's kind of been used at the Knights. What are your thoughts on that rumor, and where do you think he'd play if he does end up at the Roosters?
I think he is a nice one, Mark. Yeah, I think Jimmy Maloney will become a barbecue chef. He's good at that. Back to Connor Watson. Yeah, he has been good, and I think he is really good in that utility role. So I thought it was official, Brad. So maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it is just a rumor, but.
Yeah, I think it's basically all but 100% confirmed. Yeah.
So I kind of thought when he goes back to the Roosters where he originally came from, he might end up in a similar sort of role there. But yeah, he's classy in that role anyway. He can cover a couple of different positions and ideal sort of player for the game as it is today. Can cover a bunch of spots. Can ball play. He's big enough to play lock forward. So, very handy player and another good pickup for the Rooster sombrero.
All right, it is confirmed.
It is
so
confirmed.
Apologies there. I'm on the Roosters website now. He's It was announced last night. After I jinxed the country into lockdown, I kind of went off, keeping an eye on the news there. So apologies to everyone for that. And good to see you here, Simon. You asked about the update on Andrew. So we just covered that he had surgery and they said it went well and they're expecting a full recovery. So good news on that front for Andrew. Next bit of news, Sean Johnson has been granted immediate release from the Sharks to return back to New Zealand. Obviously, his injury was seeing him out for the season, so he couldn't really do anything for them on the field. So good to see that they've let him come home early. It's not really the best time to come back to New Zealand, but it's good to see that he's able to come home. By the looks of things, he might have to come back for a spell and then move back over to Australia to play another year over there. But yeah, good to see that he's getting to come home, bring his little girl home. I know the grandparents haven't had a lot of family time with the little baby, so they get to have a bit of that now, which is good to see. And good to see him leaving the Sharks on good terms as well. So yeah, good to see him coming back happy, which is a bonus for us potentially next year.
Yeah, 100%. I wonder if Paul Kent's going to have a dig about him, like he did for Roger.
I don't think he will, just due to the fact that he was injured. I think if he was fully fit, he probably would. And Mark's mentioned as well that Johnson wasn't in the bubble with the team, so it does make sense to release him. Yeah, he wasn't in there. He's basically just sitting at home, like everyone is now. So yeah, made sense to let him go. And last bit of news before I get on to a big one. Moses Zimba is officially signed with the Dragons until the end of 2023. So we talked about it last week that it sounded like it was almost a done deal. It's now been confirmed. Moses is a bit of a divisive player with a lot of people. But what are your thoughts about him joining the Dragons?
Yeah, he's a solid enough player. He's not going to be in my opinion, not the kind of player that's going to go over there and make the Dragons a title contender or anything. But yeah, it's a handy enough pickup for the Dragons, at least for their depth. And they've picked up a few pretty decent names now for next year. So yeah, it'll help them avoid that spoon that Brad so badly wants them to win.
They're going to get it. They're going to get the spoon. I'll put my name on the line now. Yeah, I think his biggest problem was the pay packet. I think
definitely.
He was getting paid quite a lot at the Tigers and wasn't living up to their level. And yeah, and like as Mark said here, you still don't know what his best position is. Yeah, I think that doesn't help. It's kind of a habit with the Tigers at the moment, where you've got players flicking around in different positions. I don't know if they potentially going to see him as a fullback. Maybe, I don't know. They've got Ramsey that could go into fullback as well, to fill in for Dufty that's leaving. But Moses can play there too. Could move into the halves. It'll be interesting to see, and we just got to wait and see what Anthony Griffin does there. But that is actually an interesting segue into my last news topic. Anthony Griffin was one of several coaches that questioned the referees after this round. There was Anthony Griffin, Trent Barrett, and Josh Hannay from the Dragons, Bulldogs, and Sharks, respectively. They all questioned specific calls and the losses that their team suffered. And Graham Ellerslie came out and hit back at the coaches this week about the decisions. I've got little snippets of what he said, but he said the calls that they questioned could be classed as marginal, but if you ask the opposition team fans on that call, they would agree with the referee. He stood by the referee's decisions as well, and he said instead of when you're hearing about these complaints about the refs, you're also not hearing from the coaches about he put some stats out. He said there's on average 30 ineffective tackles a game, 20 handling errors a game, and 60 missed tackles a game. He said those seem like quite big statistics that could lead to your team not doing well. So I thought it would be an interesting one to end our news on, because I can see his point, but I also think the referees are shocking at times too. Specifically in Warriors games, no conspiracies there. But yeah, what do you think? Do you appreciate this? Do you appreciate his comments, or do you think there's like a bit of a gray area?
I can see both sides of the coin a little bit. I understand where Annesley's coming from a wee bit, and look at the coaches that are complaining. It's none of the top teams, are they? So it's teams that aren't traveling well, like the Bulldogs. So, and I don't think Trent Barrett had a leg to stand on, to be honest with you. What he was complaining about, maybe he had a few shandies before the game. I don't know, but Josh Hannay's one, I can. A couple of the comments he made, I can kind of understand. Like, I think there was one where the Sharks got penalised for pushing the Knights back in goal, and pretty much the ref called it held straight away, even though they were pushing them back and no momentum had stopped. And that was a pretty big call in the context of the game and of a close game. But yeah, there's times where, not just me, I'm sure you as well, Brad, and we probably do it together over messaging each other when we have a dig at these refs and the apologies we get on Monday mornings.
Yeah, and they do get things wrong. But yeah, when I listened to Trent Barrett's post-conference and he was blaming the refs, everything he said the refs got wrong, I was actually siding with the refs.
Yeah, same.
Huge disclosure, they were playing the Warriors, so I'm probably one-eyed there. But the contact to the head call, the tackling, Ryan James tackling Chanel when he was kicking, I thought they were legitimate calls, especially if you fast forward or rewind a week when Chanel got penalised for attacking the kicker.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with that call, because I thought it was kind of, he was already in momentum and he didn't really hit him too hard. They both popped up pretty quick, where Ryan James,
he followed through.
He carried him like a baby and then backslammed him. So yeah, I couldn't see the defense there. But yeah, you gotta work on all these teams at the bottom, Warriors included, are just missing too many tackles, dropping the ball. All those silly little errors. If they sort that out, they'll put themselves in the driver's seat to get the win, and then you can complain about the ref if you get some dodgy calls. But yeah, interesting to see how that develops if those same coaches or other coaches clap back in press conferences at the end of this round about referee performances. But that's all we really had for the news. I wanted to cut it down from every little bit, so I went for the main ones that I thought. So we may as well just kick straight into the round review.
Sure.
First one was Thursday night with the Storm defeating the Raiders 26-16. It was a lot closer than I would have predicted. Thought it was really gritty, but I got a bit of pushback on my comments on this in the weekend, where I said it looked like the Storm were only doing the bare necessities that they needed to get the job done. Kind of, it's very unstorm-like, but kind of like they've got their eyes on further down the track, and they knew how much they had to do to get a performance and a result, and they didn't try to push it. But what did you think?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't know who pushed back on you, Brad, but the Storm kind of didn't look their complete clinical self like they have the past however many weeks or majority of the season. There were periods there they were letting the ball bounce off bombs and just didn't look as sort of polished as they have done. But they did what they did, and they do what they do. They still find a way to win the game, even with the bare necessities. Look at that. Nice one, Paul. I think the Raiders still put up a pretty gritty performance. So it's not all just the Storm being off a step. I think the Raiders put in a good fight, and Jack Whiten showed some good form, laying on 3 tries for Bailey Simonson, and they fought hard. So But it was a good game because of the closeness of the game, and you know, just not surprised with the result because the Storm usually still find a way to win those arm wrestles.
Yeah, and I thought the Raiders started well. They got the first try, and then the Storm just clicked into first gear, and they ran away on a 24 lead. But for the Raiders, I thought Jack Whiten had one of his better games for them in some time. He was good. He was kind of integral in their attempt at a comeback. Bailey Simonson got a hat trick as well, which was good to see. Which got them I think they were like 4 behind at that point, and then the Raiders' discipline let them down. A couple of high tackles gave Ryan Pappenhausen chances to notch up some penalties and push the lead out. Storm came close to scoring a few more times, then Corey, Hauer, and Naira rushed out of the defensive line and connected with Jerome Hughes in the head and knocked him into last week. He got sent to the bin, and
worthy, Brad, worthy bin.
Right decision. It was completely accident. It was bad, but it was accidental. There was no malice in it. You saw that Corey apologized on the field, and then on social media apologized as well, which Jerome accepted. But I think the scary thing for Jerome was Bellamy came out and said Jerome didn't remember playing, which shows how tough it was. But yeah, definitely worthy of a sim binning. No defending that one. Try as I might. It wasn't great.
Did he stay on and play when you say doesn't remember playing, or did he come off?
No, they took him off. Yeah, he went off.
He was in no state.
It was completely accidental though, and it shows because Corey, that was the first time Corey's had an offense like that in his career, which is why I think how many did he get? 3 weeks, I believe. Yeah,
I believe it was 3 weeks.
And if it was a Victor Radley or the like, it'd be a couple of months. It would be some time. So it shows how clean his record has been. But yeah, it's I think it goes down to the Storm just have a winning culture, and
they do.
I think the Raiders, they'll be disappointed they got this loss here, but I think they would have gained some confidence that it's not the Raiders we've been seeing as of late. You know, they went up against the best team, if not one of the best teams in there, and took them to the limit. And if their defense or if their discipline had been a bit better, they might have even squeaked out a win here, which would have been a great thing for the Raiders. And I think they're going to stay in playoff contention if they can bring this level of effort, improve that discipline. I think they could take some of these top teams to the limit, which be great for Canberra fans like Simon here. So
I think they get Chance Nickel-Clockstad back now too, don't they?
They do. He's back this week, which is a great addition. Unfortunately, they've lost Tom Starling for the rest of the year, which I think is a massive loss.
It is.
And like Simon said, Canberra's quite a bogey team for Melbourne in recent years. Yeah, they always seem to be able to pull out a little bit extra against Melbourne. As much as I hope they stay in playoff contention, if they lose to the Warriors in a couple of weeks, I'll very much appreciate it. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll stay on the line there. That takes us to the next game, which was Friday, with the Panthers defeating the Dragons 34-16. Not really any surprises in this game for me. I think the Panthers made quite easy work of the Dragons, as to expect from my wooden spoon to be team. I suppose the biggest talking point out of this was Nathan Cleary returning. I think he started a bit scratchy, but he found his groove as the game went on, and I think he got the Panthers' attack back in order. He had some good crisp passing on him, and I think he was really quite the lightning rod for them, which is what we come to expect. Matt Burton, I thought, played well also. Went back out to centre where he spent a lot of time for them, scored a try, set up another, and I think the Bulldogs fans that I know were quite excited with how he went in the game and showing that he's proving that he's quite a handy little sign up for them for next year. And then the Dragons, they just made too many errors. And my thing, I think I got a stat here. They had 75% of the possession in the first 20 minutes. But they just did nothing with it. What did you think of this game?
Yeah, they did something with it. They gave Brent Naden an intercept pass. So despite having all the ball, they let the Panthers get in there first. Cleary coming back. I think Luai was very much somebody who benefited from that. You could see he looked a lot happier this week than he has in the past few weeks, just having Cleary there to do most of the organising, and then Luai can just wreak havoc out wide. And he was connecting with Burton quite nicely. So he looked a lot happier for having Cleary back. On the Dragons side, I thought the young man, Amone, that came off the bench for them, 19-year-old, he looked like a real live wire and had a try and a try assist. Reminded me of a young Sean Johnson type looking player. He looked quite good. But the Panthers were always a class above the Dragons. Pretty much, they never looked in danger of losing the game.
Yeah, they I thought they kind of were starting to look like the Panthers of old from a few weeks or like a month or so ago. Yeah, they were looking a lot more competitive and more dangerous. And the Dragons, their slide continues. I think they were protected quite well with a soft start to the season, which kind of has made them look better than what they actually were. And I think we're now seeing the team that I predicted to be wooden spooners, the kind of disappointing performances. It was just that good start. I'll go Thug Life for a little bit of a moment here. What did you think of the Cleary shoulder charge that the NRL have let off?
I know what you're going to say, but
I don't know if you will.
Okay, well, I think if that is a Jack Hetherington, he gets suspended. I think the fact that it's Cleary, I'm not going to say he's a protected species or anything, but he's a halfback, so he doesn't pull off the kind of contact in that kind of situation that a front rower would. But and I've seen people like Gus Gould come out and say he's bracing for contact. It just looked to me like he tucked his arm and tried to make contact that way. So I thought it was a shoulder charge, and he's a halfback, so he's not huge. Didn't make a massive impact on Jack Bird, who's a bigger man, but it made the ball spill free and they score off it. So I'm surprised that they didn't go back and pull it back, because to me it looked like a shoulder charge.
You're a coward. He is a protected species. They want the Panthers to do well, and they want Cleary out there
so what did you think of it?
So they protect him. It was a shoulder charge.
Yeah,
and they're using the excuse that he was bracing for contact. When you're doing a shoulder charge, that is bracing for contact and leading with your shoulder, which is exactly by the rules what he did. And if it was Jack Hetherington, anyone in the Warriors, anyone in any of maybe any team that isn't the Roosters, the Panthers, or the Storm, they would be getting suspended, or at least have got a penalty out of it.
Penalised. Yeah.
And yes, as Paul said, as a man with experience of shoulder charging, yes, my right shoulder is prolific. So I know how to do it, and he did. It was textbook. So yeah, I think it was he was very lucky there, and would it have changed the result? It wouldn't have, but yeah, I like you said, the Jack Hetherington example, I think he gets punished rightly or wrongly on anything he does. I think you've got to make the rules for everyone. If you're one of the best players in the game, you shouldn't get preferential treatment.
Well, the thing is, the match review committee have come out and fined him, haven't they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's copped a fine over it. So if he's got a fine, if he's got a fine over it, then are you saying it is or it isn't? Because the ref didn't penalise him. Are you Googling it now frantically?
I'm trying to, yes.
I'm pretty sure he's got a fine from it.
I will look at it while we're chatting. We may as well go straight, and we'll touch back on that when I get the information. So we'll go into the next game. I'll let you start it. It was the Roosters defeating the Broncos 21-20. What do you think of this
Controversial
as I'm
game.
looking? Very.
Yeah. So no, it was a good game. I thought it was an entertaining game, and the Broncos, much like they did earlier in the year, brought the fight to the Roosters. They ended up beating them last time around. This time, very nearly again. So I think Payne Haas, with all the regular ones like Payne Haas, really, really good. And Payne Haas got the first try. Albert Kelly again is proving to be a good halfback pickup for the Broncos. He picked up a nice try as well off a Flegler pass. It's just the referees are being talked about a lot in this game, Brad. So I think there was an instance where James Tedesco on a breakaway got stripped and looked like a professional foul, and I think it was David Mead. He didn't get sent to the bin, but then we had Sam Walker kick a field goal to take the Roosters ahead, and Albert Kelly trying to get square with a field goal, and Radley trying to charge down his field goals, made contact with his legs and been penalised. And I think he's facing 3 weeks for that as well. So that was one moment, because for me, I know they're trying to protect the kickers, but for me, dead set looked like he's just trying to charge down the kick, and the contact has just been a consequence of that. I don't think it was intentional, but letter of the law penalty. And then
who's the thug now?
Yeah.
Listen to this. It was a dead
Changing of the
set
guard.
penalty.
Changing of the
Dead
guard.
set penalty. He tried to kill that poor man. It's Victor Radley. He doesn't do anything innocently.
Well, then the one at the end of the game with Flegler on Tupanua with the high contact, I think that happens any other time of the game, 9 times out of 10, and it's not a penalty because it's just a brush on the face. And I think James Tedesco's done a captain's challenge, a Hail Mary captain's challenge, just hoping for something, and then they spotted that and give a penalty, which the Roosters kick, and they win the game. So for me, that again, I think 9 times out of 10, that Flegler tackle on Tupanua is not even looked at, and it's just the off chance they captain's challenge that. What did you think?
If they hadn't, I am against Radley on the first one, so you're thug in that moment, and then we're both thugs on the second one because I thought there was nothing in that second one. It was just a glancing, and if they hadn't done the captain's challenge, it wouldn't have even been picked up. And Paul did the research at the same time as me, so Nathan Cleary has been hit by a fine, $1,100 fine for a grade 1.
So it was a
dangerous contact. So it was deemed, but there was no penalty involved. Protected species, wipe it out. But I think, controversies aside, this Broncos-Roosters game had me really worried because the Warriors face the Broncos this week, and the Broncos had a lot of fight, but I've got an asterisk against it as well because the Broncos did a hell of a fight, full credit to them, but this was a Roosters team without Jared Weir-Hargreaves and Angus Crichton, which I thought took a lot of sting out of them. I think this was the game that if you wanted to complain about refs, this was the one. And Kevin Walters, to his credit, did not do that. He copped it. He was like, this happens. I haven't had a good look at it, but we needed to be better out there. So hopefully those other whinging coaches take a note out of his book. I think he had his rights to complain about some of the questionable decisions, perhaps, but he copped it on the chin and moved on. Probably a little less pressure on him due to the fact that winning or losing isn't going to make the playoffs. So maybe there's a bit more pressure, but then Trent Barrett has got no chance of going anywhere but wooden spoon. So I don't know. But before we move on, I thought James Tedesco played quite well.
As always.
And Sam Walker showed good composure, notching up a field goal to get the lead. Paul said fans will complain, but coaches shouldn't be leading the way.
100%.
Well, they usually get quite a heavy fine as well. So yeah, they generally. I don't mind it if they have a go, if they do it. Ricky's probably not the best one to describe, but there's a few of them out there that know how to complain about the refs without actually blaming the refs and getting around the fine. And if they want to be a bit cheeky that way, I don't mind. But yeah, just coming out 100% blaming a ref when you're not really correct isn't a good look. But yeah, thankfully though, the Roosters won there to keep my picks alive. I was a bit worried that it was going to go bad for us there, Richie. But yeah, we squeaked that one out, and that moves us to the next expected result we got on Saturday with the Rabbitohs defeating the Titans 36-6. Wasn't surprising for me as the Rabbitohs continue their strong form. They've now become the first team in premiership history to score 30 points in 8 consecutive matches. And it's also the first time they've won 10 in a row since 1989.
Yeah.
I think the difference in this was the forwards. I think the Rabbitohs forwards just dominated the Titans, and the Titans' decision to leave Fafita on the bench and bring him on later on backfired on them on this one, because by the time he got out there, the damage was already done and the Titans pack was rolling backwards. And I think they really needed him out there to try to combat those big Rabbitohs forwards right from the get-go. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, you rightly pointed out that the Rabbitohs forwards did a bit of a job, and then all your same guys that you see benefit off the back of that, benefited off the back of that. Your Latrell Mitchells, what do you say about him? And Cody Walker. Cody Walker's just on another level at the moment in terms of, he always runs great lines, but his try assist this year, his try assist stats are just through the roof, and just seems whenever they get a 2-on-1 or Adam Reynolds does great work inside and so often puts Cody Walker in a spot where he's got a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 and they just don't miss. They nail it pretty much every time. So all those guys, Cam Murray, again, I don't even think he's underrated anymore. He's just really important to that team. The speed he allows them to play with, whenever you see him get the ball, he ball plays, the speed of his play, the balls are just crazy. And sometimes it looks like the Rabbitohs are just playing at a completely different speed to every other team. And the Titans, they were actually showing pretty good form leading up to this game as well. So I think this game illustrates the gulf between the top 6 or so, the top 6 teams, and then the next rung down. It's good for us Warriors though, Brad. I will take a heavy Titans loss any day of the week.
Yeah, and Mark's commented as well, saying if you add Mansour's tries he scored on Alex Johnston's wing the past 4 weeks, Alex Johnston would most likely be on 30 tries.
Which is crazy. Yeah,
because that left edge is dangerous. It is. They're scary. Like I've been saying forever, it's hard to stop this Rabbitohs team if they know how to hold on to the ball. When they get a case of the oopsies and they drop everything, that's when you can attack them. But when everything's singing, Cody Walker, I think's a smoky for Dally M.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about Cleary and Tommy Turbo, but those two have been missing. They've missed games due to injury, suspensions, and what have you. But Cody's been there consistently every week. So why I wouldn't put my money on it. If he got it, I wouldn't be surprised. He's just been really good this year. And the Titans in this game, they just made too many errors, struggled to gain momentum, and they stay in the 8, but they've got some work to do before they face the Storm tomorrow. And the Rabbitohs they attacked well, defended well, and it should be a really good game this week against the Panthers.
Should be.
And that brings us to the only game we had different in our picks, the Cowboys and Tigers. Tigers getting the win 24-16. It went my way this time, with me getting this one right, but I don't know how to politely say that. It was a scrappy game. the scrappy game between two teams that didn't really put their best foot forward. The Tigers did start well. They shot out to a 24-6 lead with 20 minutes to go. And then the Cowboys started to show a bit of a comeback and got a few tries back to back, and then looked like they were going to get the third try to really make a contest of it. Luke Brooks did a try-saving tackle, then ripped the ball out and got sent to the bin.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't got that tackle and stopped that from being a try, we'd probably be talking about a Cowboys win here, if I'm honest. But yeah, not a great performance from either side. And the only highlight for me as a Warriors fan was Ken Mamalo scoring his 5th try in 7 matches for the Tigers. So it's good to see he's kind of hit the ground running since he joined them. But what did you think of this basket case of a football match?
I think Mark in the comments has said it best. What an absolute bludger of a game. And it was, it was very messy. Like you say, the Tigers got out to a nice lead and then looked like kind of like they did against us, where they were leading against us just recently and then just decided not to play anymore. And then the Cowboys scored to give them some hope. And then, like you say, Luke Brooks try-saving tackle, but rakes the ball out and gets sent to the sin bin, deservedly so. But then the last play, right towards the end, the Cowboys down by, I think it was 8, so they decided to take a shot at goal, and this summed up the game pretty much perfectly for me. Yeah. Val Holmes had a shot at goal pretty much from nearly in front, and he hits the post and it bobbles around, and the game just kind of fizzles out to an end. So, yeah, bludger of a game.
And Mark said here he's seen under-16s play with more structure and discipline than these two teams. Yeah, it was
definitely.
If you were trying to get someone like Paul hiding in the background that doesn't care for league or doesn't really want to watch it, this isn't a game you're going to show them. Say you should watch NRL. It wasn't a great display, and I think it kind of shows the Cowboys, as we've been talking about, they're in a horrible hole at the moment, and it's that winning culture has that flip side with the losing culture as well. Once you settle into that routine of not really doing well, it kind of sticks, and it takes some effort to get out of that hole, and they just haven't found that yet. And the Tigers, I just don't know about this Tigers team. I praised them for months this year about the fight. They were losing, but they were going tooth and nail, looking really good, and they just didn't look great. They got the win though, full credit to them for that, but it was one of those ones where you're like, yeah, we got the win, but I feel like we lost. We're Warriors fans, we've had that, so wasn't great. Hopefully we see better performances from both of these sides this week, so it'll be at least more interesting for us to talk about next week. Next game was probably the biggest shock, but I'm not surprised at the same time. Seagulls defeating the Eels 56-10. I expected Manly to win. I expected them to win reasonably well, but I didn't expect them to put 50 points on the Eels. The Eels need to be better than this. Manly scored 10 tries at quite a consistent pace. It was kind of like every couple of minutes they were going over. The usual suspects all shone. Tommy Turbo, Daly Cherry Evans, Kieran Foran, Ruben Garrick was also really good.
All of them.
Garrick got a hat trick and kicked 8 from 10 at the kicking tee. If Manly keep playing like this, they'll go deep into the playoffs, if not all the way, in my opinion. And the Eels are in trouble. They barely fired a shot. Their discipline was horrible. They had Ryan Madison sent off for a high shot on Murata Nakora. Again, completely blowing my reputation to shreds, but it was the right call. It was a shocking.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't Nakora, sorry. It was on Brad Parker. Nakora, a couple of minutes later, got sent to the bin as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, being reduced to 11 men didn't help Parramatta by any means. But at that point, the game was already over. They may as well have sent them all off and said, let's just call it a day. Yeah, I'm not sure what the Eels need to do to figure this out, but the Sharks are circling and people are suggesting Brad Fittler, Paul Green. They're throwing all sorts of names to come in and take over as coach and get rid of Brad Arthur. But what would you do, Richie? Fix the Eels. Fix it.
The thing with the Eels is that they're just such a famous club that was used to success a few decades ago. So, and their fans haven't had anything in a long time, and they're just crying out for it. The thing they forget is when Brad Arthur took over, they were a wooden spoon team. So he's actually turned them into a consistent team making the finals. So to throw the blame completely at him is a bit harsh, especially when you look at their roster. For me, when you look at their roster, they're a good roster that will win you consistent games, but they don't look like they've got a roster like Panthers or Storm that are going to threaten for the title. In my opinion, at least, I don't think they do. You know, they're a few pieces of the puzzle off.
Yeah,
having that sort of team. So to blame it all on the coach is a bit tough. On the game, I thought, they were being torn to shreds before they had people sent off, but they would just keep inviting it. They made so many errors, and you don't want to do that against this Manly team at the moment because you give them ball and they're just going to tear you to shreds like that. And then, like you said, the high shot was definitely a send-off. And then Niokore, a few minutes later, they were just inviting 50, 60 points at that point because they were getting torn apart with 13 v 13 and 13 v 11 just, was never going to end well.
Yeah. So Ryan Madison was sent. He was a red card, and then Niokore was a yellow.
Professional foul. He got yellowed. Yeah.
Yeah, and Simon said the Eels haven't won anything in the NRL era in a team of chokers. Yeah, yep. Before we kind of move on, we talked about it last week that Clint Gutherson's looking for $1 million a year contract. This game here showed you what a $1 million a year contract player does and why he's off the mark there, in my opinion. He kind of had the chance to shine and failed miserably. It's not all on him. The whole team was woeful, but not good. Not good from a team.
Not one of their forwards got made over 100 meters. I think the closest was Isaiah Papali'i got 98 or something like that. So it shows how bad they were with the ball and not respecting the ball, and they got what they deserved pretty much.
Yeah. So and the next game was on Sunday. The Warriors beating the Bulldogs 24-10. We covered this match in depth with Ruin Hammer on Monday, so we can keep it short here. Really, the only points I've kind of put down that I think we need to comment for me was Josh Curran played well again and is finding his feet in first grade. Warriors attack looked good, but they still push some passes too often and look like they were rushing. I think if they can slow it down, take a breath, it will be better for them in the long run. And the Bulldogs never really looked threatening. They had moments, but for the most part, they just couldn't get close to the Warriors' line. And the Warriors' playoff hopes, albeit slim, stay alive for another week. So what's your quick rundown on this one?
Yeah, real quick rundown. I agree with you. I thought our attack looked good, but mostly only in patches. Then for the rest of the game, little, what should we say, impatient. Like we had instances, I think, where we had line breaks. I think O'Sullivan threw an offload, maybe on third tackle when we made a little breakout towards their line and it went to ground. Down in the second half, we had Ali Katoa make a bit of a half break and offload to Ed Kosi, which should have been a try, but he dropped it over the line. We did a kick on the second tackle, which Walsh scored off, but I think there was 2 or 3 other times where we kicked on about third tackle. So just felt like we were rushing things a bit, maybe trying to put a score up on the wooden spoon team, which we probably could have if we were just a little bit more patient.
Yeah, and before we move on, Mark commented saying he still can't believe that Katoa was not charged by the match review committee.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, not only was he not charged, but Reece Walsh has been charged for pushing Ryan James over. So I don't understand what the judiciary are doing. Walsh will get nothing for that. If he even missed a
wasn't
game,
he facing a fine? I think he was facing a fine.
he's facing a fine, but
Yeah.
he shouldn't be facing a fine. The kid's like
No.
13 years old. He's 40 kilos soaking wet, and he pushed over a over 100 kilo prop. The fact that I know I just criticized Cleary kind of getting away with it because he's a halfback, but it's literally Reece is the size of Ryan James's leg, and he was sticking up for Chanel after Chanel got hit late. So Ryan's been in trouble for that part, but pushing him over, I think, and getting charged is a bit rubbish in my opinion. But that was all at Mark said Walsh copped an $1,100 fine, so he got charged the same amount for pushing a guy over that Nathan Cleary did for shoulder charging. So great work from the judiciary there. Well done, guys. Appreciate it. But we'll go on to the last game before I start becoming a Trent Barrett and abusing the judiciary instead of the refs. Another close game, but the Knights nailed this one, defeating the Sharks 16-14. Game was very worried, not only for my picks, but for my multi with this one, because I picked the Knights and it looked like it was going to go that way. Knights, I thought it was going to be a blowout. The Knights scored in the first minute, making it look easy. And but both sides really struggled with errors and penalties throughout the contest. Sharks had a 12-8 lead at the break. Then Tuala, who scored that try in the first minute, he scored in the 45th.
It was a nice try to get that second one.
Yeah, nice try. And then after that, it just became a penalty kickoff with the Sharks nailing one to get the lead back. And then the Knights kicked one to level and then kicked another one to reclaim the lead and win. Knights have returned to the top 8 and they have a pretty decent run home, so I think they should stay there. But the Sharks, I think, have sealed their fate with back-to-back losses. I think they're on the way out. A worrying sign for the Knights, though, is Daniel Safiti is going to miss between 3 and 5 weeks with an NCL injury, which won't help their chances because he's kind of integral in the middle for them there. But what do you think of this penalty kickoff game?
Again, it is not the prettiest game to watch, and I think both sides pretty desperate fighting for that 7th and 8th spot. So it looked like both teams maybe a little nervous, and like you say, a lot of errors, and just maybe both teams a bit, lacking a bit of execution. But the Knights managed to squeak the win, and it keeps them in the hunt with a good run home. It's just watching games like that, it makes I still don't feel 100% on them. Like, they've probably got the best run home, but they make me worry a bit because I thought they might have done a better job against the Sharks this week, especially without Johnson. But they still struggle from time to time. And I know they've still got the Broncos to come, but I think the Broncos have been showing a lot more fight recently. So I don't think they're a shoo-in just yet, but they still sit in a good position with their fate in their hands.
They do, yeah. So that's round 22. So we'll bring up the ladder and talk about the picks. We had one game different, which was the Tigers-Cowboys, and I got that one right. So I went 8 from 8 this week for the second week in a row. Humble bragging.
Nice one, Brad.
And Richie, you got 7 out of 8, which is still not a bad day at the office. So I am leading 125 out of 168, and you are 124. So still 1 point in it. So we'll no doubt probably end up tying up again this week. But we got the ladder. Melbourne and Penrith are at the top. Rabbitohs and the Roosters are now 3rd and 4th after Parramatta lost. Manly going up to 5th. After that loss, the Eels dropped down to 6th. Newcastle, with that close win, went to 7th. Titans, even though they lost, they cling to the 8, with the Raiders just sitting out at 9, Sharks 10, Dragons 11, Warriors 12. Tigers and Cowboys 13th and 14th, then Brisbane and the Bulldogs 15th and 16th. If the Warriors had managed another try or two, they'd be sitting 11th right now. But yeah, we're saying it every week. Where are we ruling the line here?
The Warriors. The Warriors are the last team with any faint sort of glimmer of hope. But I see that 60-point hiding we copped against Souths as one that hurts us a lot because, our points
differential hurts.
Yeah, it would have been comparable to Canberra and Cronulla up there if we didn't get hit with that huge loss. With a couple of with games on the stretch home, which it's not too bad our run home, but it's
in comparison.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's still tight between. You still think Newcastle, Gold Coast, or Canberra in the box seat, but supporting who we support, you always keep that glimmer of faith, hey Brad?
That slim glimmer, yeah.
We keep that calculator out.
Yeah, definitely. It's the only time I get to use my education for maths.
Yeah.
Let's so we may as well get into questions. Do we have any questions from everyone watching, Paul? Nice. Oh, okay. Brad, do you enjoy watching rugby, and what makes you enjoy rugby league more?
We're back to Monday night's questions, aren't we?
I do enjoy watching rugby, but if I'm going to be honest, I probably haven't watched a full game of rugby and probably since the World Cup. If I'm brutally honest, I haven't watched it as much. Big Chiefs fan, so I used to watch the Chiefs a lot and the All Blacks too. I used to have lots of hot takes that used to piss my nana off. My nana is a massive All Blacks fan. I used to remind her how much better Sonny Bill was than Richie McCaw, and she used to love that because Richie McCaw was her favorite person on the planet. But he's a cat, rubbish player. But yeah, and what makes me enjoy rugby league more? And I also played union, so I played a lot of union in my time. I always seem to enjoy playing union more than watching it. And yeah, I enjoy rugby league more. I don't know. It's not as soft. It is now, probably. It's soft now with all these new rules changing everything. But, back in the good old days when you could knock people's heads off with a shoulder and no one would bat an eyelid. And it's just a faster game for me.
Yeah, Brad, he liked playing union more than watching it because he could get away with a lot of the dark arts at the bottom of rucks and the scrums and all that kind of carry on.
Yeah, only because I always played at the level where they didn't have cameras, Richie.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, what about you?
Lots of comments, but not many questions in the chat. I think we got all the questions on Monday evening.
Yeah.
So don't forget, folks, to go back and you can watch our 50th special episode that Brad and Richie did on Monday night. You can also listen to it as wherever you get your favorite pods, be the iHeartRadio. Apparently, some people even watch on Spotify. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I've got another one. Nicholas hitting us with all the questions. How many times do you watch a Warriors game during any given week of an NRL season before presenting the show on a Wednesday? So I'm not sure about you, Richie, so I'm going to start again. So I watch it live. I write for a website called Nothing But League, so I do their live match reports. So I'm sitting there watching the game and writing as the game plays. I then generally end up watching the game a couple hours later to watch the game and take more notes for the show and for my article that I write. Every Monday I upload a review on my website about the game, and I probably watch it anywhere between 3 to 5 times for the Warriors game in general. Maybe if it's a bad loss, like the Rabbitohs game, I might watch it twice. But yeah, I try to watch it as much as I can because you always miss things. And if you watch it multiple times, you can kind of decide to watch certain people. But yeah, what about you, Richie?
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth a bit. So yeah, definitely watch it live. And depending on how the results gone, usually has a bearing on how many more times I watch it after that. Definitely, I watch it again just for a bit more, mainly for the show, and so I can, I can watch it a bit more objectively without the emotion there. When watching it live, so you try and pick up little things I might have missed. But yeah, if it's a bad loss, it's hard to sit through it again. Normally, normally for me, similar to what Mark's commented there, he says he usually watches it twice, usually 3 times. That's probably the same for me.
Yeah. And we've got one more from Nicholas because he wants to use up all the question time for himself. It's cool. Love it. How many NRL matches do you both watch in full each week? I'm always curious because the analysis on both your show and Ruin Ham is so comprehensive. What does it go out there? I watch every game. I watch every game full. The only one I probably don't watch in full is the Thursday night, just due to the fact that I get up before the sun comes up for work. And that, unfortunately, doesn't change with lockdown this week because I'm an essential worker. So I generally watch the first half live, go to bed, and then I watch the second half the next day when I get home. But yeah, I try to watch every match. Some of them are harder than others. I missed the second half of the last game of the round because I was actually on a show with Hold the Ball, doing a video with him. So I had it on in the background to keep up with the score, and then I had to watch that second half again later that night. But yeah, for me, I watch every game. What about you, Richie? And yeah, Paul, everyone wants to see me, Paul, so I have to go wherever I'm asked.
Yeah. He is a podcast tart, isn't he? I watch every game as well. I think if you're going to try and analyze the games, you kind of got to do it justice by watching as much as you can. I catch every Warriors game live. If I don't catch any of the other games, I try and catch most of them live, unless, like Brad, it's a Thursday night and I'm kind of tired. But my situation is I'm a stay-home parent, so I get a lot of opportunity to throw on the match replay on Sky Go the next day on a Friday during the day if I miss the Thursday one live. But normally on the weekend, I've got enough time to watch all of them live. But yeah, I pretty much every week will watch every NRL game.
Yeah, and I have a very understanding partner that lets me get away with a lot more than most would in terms of watching football. So yeah, I get to watch basically all of it as much as I can. That's a good one here. Simon's mentioned that the West Tigers doco, the second, is on tomorrow, the first episode on Sky Sport Now. That kind of goes into my question I had for you, Richie, which is that we both started watching the Tigers doco on Sky now that we've got it over here. If they do, my question is though, if they decide to do something like this again, which team did you think it should be based on?
Okay. Obvious answer for me is Warriors, but that's an extremely biased one. So I'll put that aside and name a couple other teams without my bias. Really wouldn't mind if it was someone like the Storm or the Roosters, one of those top teams with a really, one of the really top tier coaches. Would love to see. Obviously, they wouldn't show you everything and give away all their trade secrets, but just to see those clubs and how they work and what builds their culture and makes them tick. Teams like that, Storm and Roosters, you can tell that those kind of teams, even when they get injuries, they're just so well coached and well drilled and have such a great culture that, the last decade or so, they're just constantly up towards the top of the table. So, or if you wanted to laugh, you could watch the Tigers one, which is currently going now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think the Warriors one, I think they missed the boat massively by not doing something like this this year with the Warriors, with everything that's happening with being away from New Zealand for the second year in a row, I think that's if you're trying to get people that you're going to get your leagueies that watch it, but if you're going to get people that don't normally watch league, I think that's a more interesting story. I think that is quite an interesting idea of people being away from the country, playing. Then you throw in all the stuff like Roger leaving early, things like bringing Lodge and Walsh in, things like that. I think it would have been really interesting. But yeah, the Storm, just the success that they've had, seeing the Craig Bellamy that we see as a coach, but the completely opposite Craig Bellamy that he is with the players, I think would be interesting to see as well. Because he's always breaking everything in that room, but when you see him out there with the team, it's completely different. He doesn't seem as aggressive. But yeah, that would be me. And you had a question for me too, which you put a lot of thought into it, so I want to let you do it. So you ask it.
Well, I was just watching the Warriors the last few weeks, and the forward pack in particular. You know, we've had a lot happen in our forward pack this year with, injuries and suspensions, and we've had to move guys around. And I noticed just recently our back row really developed. You know, you've had the emergence of Curran, and he's been good most of the year, but particularly this last month has been fantastic. We've moved Ewan Aitken to the second row, which has yielded some really good results. So for me, what's really interesting is come next year with everybody fit, what would you do with your selectors hat on? What would be your starting pack, and what would your bench makeup be? Because you got Tohu coming back, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with the makeup of our forwards.
Yeah, and I thank you for giving me the question in advance so I could actually think of it. It hurts me to say, but I might lose my chairman of the Ben Murdoch-Masila fan club, because it was actually really hard to put him in the team with what we've got. So what I've got, I wrote it down. I've got Adam Fanua-Blake, Wade Egan, and Matt Lodge in my starting front row.
Yes.
I've got Ewan Aitken and Josh Curran as my second rowers.
Yeah.
And I've got Tohu Harris as my lock.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. This is interesting because I also just noticed that I don't have Jazz in my team, which shows you. Yeah, I know. I've got Otokolo as my 14. I've got Bunty Afoa. I've got Aaron Penny from the Storm and Ben Murdoch-Masila as a switch on number 16. And then I've got Katoa at 17, but that would be a Katoa Jazz situation, which it's horrible, but it's great at the same time. It all depends how Penny from the Storm, how he goes. He might not be at that level that those other guys are. Jazz always has to be in there somewhere. But I also like Otokolo.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's all I've got, but it's.
What happens then? Next year rolls around and maybe Cody Nikarima ends up sticking around. You wouldn't want him as a 14?
If he is still with the team, then I would have him as the 14 instead of Otokolo. That would be the switch there. But yeah, the fact you got Ben Murdoch-Masila and Jazz and all those guys still there as well, it makes it interesting.
I like your picks.
You got Jack Murchie as well.
Yeah, 100%. I would have had the starting lineup the exact same as you. It's it's just what you do with the bench. There become some tricky selections there. Good problems, though.
Yeah, and we're running long on time, but there was a question from Andrew, the editor at Nothing But League, the website I write match reports for. He asked it a couple of weeks back, and I've had to keep pushing it due to our time, but I want to give it now. This was in light of the World Cup no longer happening. He said, should there be a World Nines in place of the World Cup? Say a 2-day event, which is easy to organize and get stronger teams to participate in. I don't mind the idea. I think that could be interesting. If they can't organize international games for the end of the year, you could do like a international nines like tournament. Obviously, COVID's kind of hit everywhere at the moment. So it makes it a bit harder in terms of preparing. It would have been great to possibly have it here. Odds of that happening now, I think, are very slim. But what do you think? Do you think they could do a nines as opposed to just a Kiwis Kangaroos test?
With the COVID situation, I'm not too sure. I think if it was on, I'd watch it, but I could take it or leave it. Especially, for me, it's just, especially with a lot of the Warriors players, they probably just want to come home and spend some time here with family and whatnot. So, yeah.
In fairness, this question was asked before COVID reared its ugly head everywhere. So, I like the idea though, and if it's on, I'd watch it. And Simon's commented that Rugby League Nines isn't really a thing he's interested in.
Yeah, I'm the same a little bit. Yeah, it's not exactly my cup of tea, but I'll watch it if it's on for sure. But I could take it or leave it.
Yeah, so that will take us. Let's get into our round 23 picks. Okay, you got here's our draw. So tomorrow night we got Titans Storm. I've gone with the Storm. I think Titans haven't impressed me much, and Storm are one of the top. So
yeah, same here. Storm for that one.
Yeah, and Friday night first game Raiders Manly. I think it's Manly. Tommy Turbo's got a bit of an asterisk next to him due to an injury he got. He's been named. If he doesn't play, it might make it a bit more interesting, but I'm just still sticking with Manly.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Manly. I think even if he doesn't play, I think now the rest of the team's in enough of a groove where I don't think they'll suffer like they did at the start of the season so badly, because the rest of the team's in such good form now. I've taken Manly.
Cool. And next game on Friday is Panthers-Rabbitohs. And once again, we've only picked one game different, and it's this one. I've gone with the Panthers. Don't ask me why. It was just an instinct thing when I did the picks. I saw Panthers and said Panthers are going to win. And then I looked later on and went, oh, shit, they're playing the Rabbitohs. But I'm going to give the Panthers the benefit of the doubt that Cleary's second week back with the team, we're going to see the Panthers of old. And the Panthers of old touched up Rabbitohs last time. Will they touch them up this time? I don't think so, but I think they should still have enough. But you tell me why I'm wrong and why the Rabbitohs are going to win.
Yeah, I tell you why you're wrong, Brad. There's for that exact reason. I think they got touched up by a couple of the top teams earlier in the year, and I think this is the game they're going to want to put a stake in the ground and say we're one of the form teams right now, and come finals time, if we play one of you top two teams, we're going to make this extremely hard. So, and I think they are in fabulous form. So, I've gone with the Rabbitohs, and hopefully they prove me right, and we can level up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be the game of the round.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's going to be a great one to watch. But then after that great game, we're going to fall into a game that's probably not going to be too pretty. And that's on Saturday, the Tigers and the Sharks. I've gone with the Sharks. I was confident of the Tigers last week, and the Sharks have been struggling, but I think the Sharks will have enough to get this one.
Yeah, I think so too. Both teams haven't been looking great lately. The Tigers squeaked home last week, but I would have been very worried if they didn't against North Queensland, who've gone 9 in a row losses now. Yeah. So, and the Tigers haven't been good at backing up wins this year, so I've taken Sharks.
Yep. Next up, Bulldogs Knights. I've gone with Knights. Team in the top 8 against Wooden Spoon seems easy.
Yeah. Knights easy.
Yeah, and then next up is Eels Cowboys. Gone with the Eels here. I know the Eels have been falling off a cliff, but they're playing against a team that lives at the bottom of that cliff. So I think they should get the job done here. If they can't beat the Cowboys, then expect everyone to get sacked at Parramatta.
The Eels would have been crying out for this game. They've had such a tough run home, and I'm sure they would have circled this one as a big relief. I'm sure they're very, very relieved they're playing the Cowboys this week. So should be Eels. Should be.
Yeah, and then the first game on Sunday, we've got Dragons, Roosters. Again, I've gone with the Roosters. Dragons are still my team, I think, are the worst on the planet. So I'm going with the Roosters.
Yeah, the Roosters are still up there with a shot at top 4, so they should be gunning at this game pretty hard and targeting it. I think they'll be too classy.
Yep. And then last up, we've got the Warriors and the Broncos. This one was actually really hard. Like I said, the Broncos scared me in that Roosters game, that they're going to be quite tough, but I've gone with the Warriors. I think it's yet another game. The Warriors team is the same, so they're building those combinations. And I think we're going to see a big game out of Reece Walsh to really like rub it in the face of the Broncos for not really seeing him being first grade ready yet. So I'm going with the Warriors.
Sure. Yeah, I've gone with the Warriors too. I must admit it, like you said, it's a very tough game to pick. And we haven't had a 4-game winning streak since 2018. So I think the longer our streak goes, the more nervous you get tipping us.
Yeah.
Especially how the Broncos have been playing. But, I'm showing faith. I'm going to tip the Warriors.
Yeah, and Simon's picks while we're here, he's gone with you. Storm by 20, Raiders by 4. He's picked the Raiders, unlike us.
He's a Raiders fan.
Rabbitohs by 6, Tigers by 6, Knights by 10, Eels by 14, Roosters by 16, and Warriors by 4. So
nice one.
Yeah, I hope you don't get all of them right because I want to win. But yeah, hopefully that Warriors one is one that you get right for us. So yeah, that's round 23. One game different again. We're running a bit long, so I won't go too much into Super League, but there was a point that Simon made in the chat here that the promotion relegation is, they were talking about potentially getting rid of it, but it is still on. So the Leeds Centurions look most likely to be out of the competition after just being in there for a year. And the other bit of news I had is Thomas Luluai may have played his last game of his career after injuring his hamstring. He was in the final year of his contract with Wigan, but it's thought that he's been promised a coaching role for next year. So he'll stay on with Wigan, but yeah, not the best way for him to go out. But yeah, he's been another, very much like James Maloney, another guy that's had a great career. So yeah, good luck with the coaching. Hopefully he can help Wigan get back to where they belong, which is at the top. As a big Wigan fan here. But yeah, anything else you want to cover before we move on?
No, not really. Again, thanks to everyone watching. Some really nice questions from you guys, and nice to see a couple of new faces pop up. So thanks to everyone listening and watching along. I hope to see you guys tune in the future.
Yeah, and see Rams comment, first time listening to the channel, quite new to the league as a whole, interesting stuff. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, hopefully you come back. And Nicholas as well, heaps of curly questions there for us, which is always good to keep us on our toes.
Always good.
We like to try to pretend we know what we're talking about for half of the show at least. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us tonight. Oh, you got something to say too, Paul?
For those people who are new to the channel, folks, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. you'll have the Standoff Show, which is our rugby league show. We also have Rugby Union Show, which is the Driving Maul show every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And we do post-match reactions to various live games. And because of lockdown here in New Zealand, we're going to have a special Driving Maul show tomorrow evening to keep people entertained, because we know people are going to stir crazy, unlike Brad and myself, who actually work as essential workers, but and Richie, who, well, this is just his normal life. Nothing's different.
Yeah.
Apart from he has to
Richard just doesn't. Richard just doesn't work at all. Doesn't matter if it's locked down or not. He's not working.
But for those of you that are locked down, we're all locked down. Those of you who are having to stay at home, an extra show for you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. for the Driving Maul show to keep you entertained.
Yeah,
awesome.
And thank you for joining us. Yeah, remember 8 p.m. next Wednesday we'll be on. And Nicholas said Paul's an absolute legend, always there when you need him. That's it's always true. Can't be anywhere without Paul here. So remember to watch 8 p.m. on Facebook next Wednesday, or at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. By the sounds of things, just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Thanks again for joining me, Richie and Paul, and good night, everyone.
Cheers, guys.